What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, and the QQQ, and a couple of tickers out there. I want to break down why the market's gapping down the pre-market and some very important levels to watch for, and what's very likely to happen to the market intraday. But before I break anything down, all this information, before I talk about what's going on with Tesla stock and all these different tickers, let me just mention a couple of things before starting. I am firstly not a financial planner, so make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon. It ends today, so check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. All right, so why is the market gapping down the way it is right now? That's because Fitch has downgraded the US long-term rating to a double A plus from a triple A rating. And this is a very, very big change that happened. This is going to affect some long-term investments in the US. But is this so significant to cause the entire stock market to crash? I would not say so. I don't think this is going to cause something like that crazy, but this could lead to some volatility, and so far it has been doing that. Now, I also want to add a couple of other important things. There was also other pieces of news coming out to the markets on a relatively slow start for the month of August, and this is very normal during a period like this. Now, do I think the market is going to make a big drop today and start crashing or tanking very hard? In my opinion, there's no real confirmation of the market breaking down just yet, breaking major support just yet. But it got a little closer to doing so. We just haven't really gotten it yet. Now, I believe whether we break support, the major supports or not, for most of these stocks will be determined more by like Apple and Amazon's earnings. So more towards tomorrow after the market closes, I think that's when we're going to see the real move. And for now, I think the market's going to make an attempt to try to base and try to hold around these levels. Now, looking at some other important news, once again, Fitch has once again downgraded the US credit rating. This is very important. And I believe that the impact that this is going to have in the US economy is going to be, I would say, significant. But for the stock market itself, because you have to remember, the stock market is not the same thing as the US economy. The economy could be in a dire state and the stock market could still be pumping. That's how things work around here, especially. But looking at this rating, it's going to affect our credit and the investments made in the US. So it is worth noting, but I don't think it's enough to really tank the market for a very, very long time. I think new news is going to end up coming out. There's been some talk about conspiracies. I'm not going to talk too much about that, but with the US going forth right now, I just want to mention that right now we're starting to see some effects which are resembling the start of a recession. Do we have to enter a dictionary definition economic recession? I mean, I'm not going to make any comments on that. That's up to you to decide. But the Fed is trying to rule it out, saying that they're not really forecasting it. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is because the JOLTS numbers, especially coming out from yesterday, were still suggesting we had the slowest job openings since April of 2021. And things like this will have a big effect on the economy, especially on the Fed's policies, especially for Friday when we have more unemployment numbers. Now, what's going to be more impactful for the markets would be their earnings coming out. Just as a reminder, we have CVS coming up very soon. And then we have PayPal and Shopify after the market closes. Then we have Amazon and Apple after the market closes for Thursday. I think they're going to be a lot more impactful, so be on the lookout for them. And finally, there's some news that came out that you could see a Tesla Cybertruck being assembled by hand at the Texas Gigafactory. This is good news for Tesla, but the real question is what's going to happen to the markets now. And I think I'm going to talk about Tesla in more detail because of this. So looking at Tesla specifically, one of the things I mentioned on this channel is that when you look at the 4-hour time frame, Tesla has a tendency of being stuck between the 50 and the 200 EMAs, going back and back and forth, right? Our support is this red line or this 50 EMA. All right. So with that said, where is Tesla right now? We're actually just barely around the 50 EMA, the 200 EMA. Sorry about that. The 200 EMA, trying to hold this level and try to test around it. We also have this unfilled gap around this 458, this 258 area. So what do I think is very likely to happen to Tesla? Well, I think Tesla's going to try to chop around this zone between 252.5 to about 255, basically going back and forth for the majority of the day. And as this thing is just stuck here doing this back and forth price action, we may see an attempt for it to bounce intraday and try to fill this gap around 258, maybe get very close to 260. I think the market's going to try to bounce a little bit afterwards, but then it may reject and get a somewhat red day and still, trade sideways around here. And then going into Thursday, we may see the market once again try to hold up with Apple and Amazon's earnings, but then we're going to get a massive reaction after the market closes, and that's going to dictate which way the market goes. Now, for SPY, if you want to turn to a bear, if you really want to be bearish, and let me actually first mention this about Tesla before I talk about SPY. So I think that's what's most likely going to happen. But if you want to be really bearish on Tesla, we have to break 250 and break below that, and this thing's going to come, tanking very, very hard. For now, I don't think that's going to happen. Really hoping that doesn't happen. I think it's just going to try to hold up for the time being. But I just wanted to mention that that's going to be like the more bearish case. But like I said before, I think the odds favor Tesla holding up and trying to come up to fill that gap. Now, for SPY, let me just mention the same thing is basically happening. If you want to be bearish on SPY, you need to break 452. So far, it has not done that. And we're going to be watching this unfilled area all the way to around this 455 area. I think we may have an attempt to break the 50 EMA to get above 455. If we manage to do so, you're going to be watching these imbalances up here. Don't forget we have this level at like 456, 456.5 as well. And I think the market is going to most likely try to hold up around these levels, maybe making an attempt to balance because on SPY we have a possible double bottom formation. And watch 452 as your pivot level. If that breaks, if 452 breaks, SPY is going to come dropping a lot harder, and we could see Tesla follow it as well. But for now, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the odds favor a double bottom formation and attempt to like push up one more time. The market may try to recover and fill this gap that is forming in the pre-market. And I think there's a good chance the market's going to just hold around these levels, and we're going to see SPY retest 456 again. And first, that's to get above 455. I think the odds favor that happening, and I just wanted to mention that. Finally, for the QQQ, because I want to keep this video kind of quick just to get this out there as fast as possible. For the QQQ, it has a very, very interesting looking amount of data for it. We do have this unfilled gap as well. We're around this like 380 level, which is going to be important to watch for. If you want to see this thing break down, it needs to get smacked below 377 now. If that does happen, it's going to turn more bearish, and it's currently testing 380 as its resistance at the 50 EMA. What do I think is more likely? I think there's a good chance we're going to see this thing try to like push up a little bit, try to fill this gap, and just kind of like chop around this area for the time being. We may make an attempt to get back around this like 381.3 area, and we might see some sideways price action moving forward. If we do manage to break this resistance, we could see this thing pump all the way back to the 383 area. In my opinion, we're most likely going to see the market hold up and just trade a little sideways around this area for now, especially on the QQQ, and maybe make an attempt to push up very close to like the very low 380s, around the 381.3 level, and possibly breaking it, but that depends on how much momentum we could get. For Nvidia, this thing came down all the way down to about this 457 area. If it breaks down, you're going to be watching 455, then 453. If you want to be bullish, you want to see it break the 50. If that breaks, we're going to be watching this thing retest 462. Now, in my opinion, I think Nvidia is going to make an attempt to balance with the market and make its way back to the very, very low to mid 460s. And then we're just going to trade sideways from there for the majority of the day. I think that's very, very probable. And we're going to see what happens after Apple's earnings, which should dictate the much larger move. But for now, make sure you watch these supports and make sure that you are very open-minded in a market like this, and let the market tell you what's going to happen. Let the market tell you what's very likely. Do not simply try to chase or assume certain things will happen or trade based off your emotions. All right, so thank you for listening. Have a great day, everyone. I will see you guys very soon for the next video. Tesla and the market to the moon as the long term is very bright, and peace out.